Thank you again, of course, for your time. What we want to do is have a look at the new, completely redone My Vision of Life website. And I want to talk about why we put in so much time and effort. What I believe is going on in the industry is that because of time pressures, to a great extent, many advisors are opting to use rather simple retirement planning tools, which I believe are fraught with, some pretty misleading inaccuracies. So the whole concept of My Vision of Life is that the client's areas of expertise are their values and their wants in life. Your area of expertise, of course, is helping them achieve those wants, either by experimenting with what I'll call prudent lifestyle decisions, or clearly applying, sound financial planning tactics that save taxes, things like that. So the whole idea then of the site is to give clients the opportunity to go in and amplify on their wants in life, their vision of life, and then you can incorporate that into a plan. So I want to run through that today. Now, it's possible for the client to go to the website, click the sign up form, and then go through and complete, these questions in order to register themselves on the site. And we've used this type form approach that's become fairly popular to make it as easy for people as possible. But I'm going to recommend that you don't take that approach. I think it's much better if you actually export something to the site so that all clients have to do is go log in, and then they can immediately begin working with their file. And so I want to take this right back to the whole questionnaire approach that we worked on. And you'll see here that in this questionnaire, I have Bill and Sue and so on. So this is, the standard questionnaire that I use for a basic retirement and estate plan. What we've recently done, and we haven't released them yet, but they will be released very soon, is we've revised how the submit button works. There were some issues that advisors were having where the client might be on Yahoo or Gmail or whatever. So the revision is this: clients will be able to go to the submit button. They can leave the password field blank if they wish. Click OK, and then they'll type in your email address. And we'll see about embedding your email address in that submit button. We haven't gotten quite to that yet, but we're going to hopefully be able to achieve that, when we brand questionnaires for you. So they'll be able to type in your email address, click the OK button, and what's actually going to happen is that an FDF file is going to be generated, and it's going to be sent directly to you. So that's all the client has to do. It's much simpler, and it avoids any issues with, attaching FDF files to emails and so on. So let me just close this for now, and we'll jump right into VisionWorks. So I want to take this from, the very beginning, the simple approach. So I'm going to click the Add button. Say we're importing from a questionnaire. It's a retirement and estate assessment plan. So I'll just call it an REP for today. Click the OK button. Go and locate that FDF file. And I'm actually going to use this one. It's a retirement plan file, but it will suffice for our purposes. So we can open it up, and what we end up with, of course, is everything imported into VisionWorks. So now we've got the basics in there, and I can make whatever changes I want to, 6 hour street, etc. So, you can do anything that along these lines that you would normally do. And I'm going to just call this the cottage. And I'm also going to go to vehicles, and I'm going to make some adjustments. You know, we're not going to be buying vehicles for our whole life. So these are sort of some of the standard adjustments that I talk about making to a file. We've got rid of that car good. So now that I have all of this, what I'm able to do after I do any cleanups, anything that's related to portfolios, etc., I can then go to the Import Export Questionnaires page, click Export to Web. And what I can now do is click the Add button, add in the client's name, email address, and I can give them a temporary password. I've already done that for Bill Smith, so I'm just going to select the file that I've already created. And so once you've done that add, then all you do is click the Export button. And what happens is everything in this file is now going to be exported to My Vision of Life, and the entire client profile is going to be set up. So the client is now able to go to My Vision of Life, click the login, put in their email address and password that you send them, log into the website, and what we'll see then is everything that we entered into VisionWorks is now available on the My Vision of Life site. So you can see a little introduction that says there are basically 3 steps that they'll need to follow. If we go to the About page, you'll see that we've got Bill and Sue already entered. If they want to add more people, which you could have done, by the way, in the retirement and estate plan, you know, added children or whatever, but if they want to add other people to the plan, they can click the Add button. And again, it goes through that type form approach, you know, what's your first name, etc. So it's much more friendly than clicking the Edit button and trying to edit those fields. Clients can, if they wish, complete the values form, which I haven't done. But the most important part is going to the vision page and being able now to adjust their vision of life. Now, you'll notice that there's a little pop-up here, and it's just telling people that to understand how to create entries and quantify the entries, that there's a help video that they can play that will run through it all. So we'll just get rid of that. And what we'll do is we'll just go to 6R Street. And the whole point now is that clients can go in, for example, click the renovation button, say they want to renovate the kitchen, click OK, add the kitchen renovation, and then they can quantify it. And the video shows them, for example, that if they want to make this 2021, they can open up that list, change to 2021, obviously change the amount that they spend, whatever it might be, and update their vision. What they can do at any time is they can go to the output, income assets and net worth, click the refresh button, and what we've done is we've built the VisionWorks calculation engine into the background so that when clients go and make a change and do a refresh, they can then run their mouse over any year in the plan and see what the impact is. So let's close that. And what we'll do now is we'll go back to VisionWorks. So the client's worked away, done whatever they've done. You can then bring up the file, click the Import button, click From Web, go and locate the client file, and then you can create a new solution. So this is based on the initial assessment. I'm going to call this, client update, whatever you want to call it. It's going to automatically create a new solution and import any changes the client made into it. Note that a dialog comes up that tells you exactly what changes they've made so that you can then go to the different entries and see precisely what happened. So This gives the client the chance to play around, and then you have the opportunity, of course, to then go in and work with the client subsequently around things that they might do to ensure that they achieve their vision, whether that's optimizing taxes, reallocating portfolios, whatever the case might be. So it's all pretty straightforward. It's really just a matter of encouraging clients to give it a try, and most importantly, making sure that they play that help video so that they can clearly see, how to go in and quantify entries and so on. So let's throw this open for some questions. You have the ability now to go in and unmute yourself and then ask any questions that you might have. Someone?
Hey, Michael, it's Alan here.
Yes, Alan, great.
Yeah, so this morning I went in to just take a look at myself, and you emailed me back to say that my emails back to me weren't correct. So
yes,
it's probably simple for me to fix it, but I haven't looked. So how do I just go in and correct what I have to do?
Well, I think what happened, so let me just explain this. What happens is that when your client logs into the website and makes any change, you're going to get an email that explains that your client logged in. So it gives you a chance to sort of track that, see their activity. What you can do is you can log in as the client, you have that information, go to manage account. And I think what happened was that when you put in your email address, you didn't enter it quite correctly. You were missing, the L of financial. So emails were not going to you advising you that you'd logged in. They were actually coming to me saying that, the email address was incorrect. So I think all you have to do is log in as the client and then fix that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, the other thing is if you experiment with this, which obviously I think you want to do, so you get familiar with it, what you should be doing is you should either make up a fictitious client, a Bill Smith type client, or you can actually export your file from VisionWorks to the My Vision of Life website. But when you do that export, what you should be doing is you should be using your personal email address, not your business address. Your business address, your advisor address, is the one that will go in that advisor field, and you'll use your personal one for the My Vision of Life website, just to keep them separate. So just be aware of that. You can either make up a fictitious client or, do a personal email address here when you're registering as yourself as the client. Other questions?
Hey, Michael, it's Mark Udon. How are you?
Yes, Mark. Well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm new to this Vision of Life stuff. I like it a lot. How would you recommend we use it with a client? So if you're building a financial plan, you've got VisionWorks all created. Are you saying we should move that file into Vision of Life, or how would this work interactively with a client if you're sitting in front of them?
Well, what my recommendation is that even if it's just bare bones, even if it's just the client's name, the about page information that's filled out, nothing more, that you at least export that to the website so that, the client doesn't have to register and so on. They can just log in. But I would export personally. I would try and start a plan off, even if it's just got some bare bones information, their home, even general lifestyle expenses, maybe vehicles, possibly vacations, a few things, so that when they go on the site and they go to the vision and they stroll through home, lifestyle, family, career, they see some entries that are already in there. I would do a minimal amount at least, and then invite them to go in and really amplify on their vision. And that would, for example, include things like importing children. So let me just add the Smith children here to the plan. So now I've got Joan and Bill Jr., and then I can export that out to the web. And then that gives them more to work with, things they might want to do for their children and so on. So the idea really is just to give the client the opportunity to go in and really pad out their vision. As a matter of fact, I should have opened this, but I received an email yesterday from one of our fairly longtime users, and he stumbled across an article in some psychological journal that was actually talking about financial planning and goals. And what it basically said was that if clients are left to come up with their goals on their own, they often actually neglect or forget about some of the key goals. And when they're reminded about them, that very often the goals that they're reminded about actually become higher priorities than some of the things that they had already, thought about. And so the advisor was sending it because he was really speaking about our visually driven approach to helping clients create their vision of life. And how much, and you can see now we've got Joan and Bill Jr., and how much more effective the icon-driven approach is. So it's really keeping that in mind. So just to review the concept, what most advisors do is they'll sit down with clients with what I call a script, which is a series of questions, and they'll say to clients, let's talk about vacations or vehicles or educating your children or, whatever it might be. And the responses we get from people are limited basically to the questions that we ask. And so my favorite example of all of this is going to vehicles. So, Bill and Sue might identify, the fact that they drive a van and have a sport utility. But when they look over the array of choices and see motorhomes, they say, oh, well, one of the things we want to do in retirement is buy a motorhome. So it's just giving clients this approach that visually stimulates the neurons in the brain where past wants are stored. So again, anything we've ever thought about in the past is stored in the brain as what are called neural firing patterns, and they're dormant until they're stimulated. Well, in the goals conversation, people may have a lot of different things they've thought about. If we don't ask the right questions, it's not going to come out. But if we give them the visual stimulation, what they see will trigger those neurons. So we're just giving them a sandbox to go and play and look over these different choices and say, oh yeah, that applies to me, or I've thought about that. So, I would get something bare bones set up, make it easy for the client to log in, see a few things, and then give them the opportunity to, kind of stroll through all the different choices and look at all the different things that, that they might want to have and do. So, going down to family and looking at children, and I'll close this, looking at children and, activities or whatever it might be, right? It's a long-winded answer.
Very good.
Other questions?
Yes, Michael.
Yes.
Robert here.
Yes,
Can you
Robert.
that process again? So you're saying that we create a client file in VisionWorks, load it with what data we have, and then export that to the web and invite the client to participate in that?
That's what I'd recommend. I wouldn't send them the link to the web so that they then go in and they have to register and start from scratch. It's too much work for them. What I think is much easier is if you set something up, like I did in VisionWorks, some basic file, set it up, export it out to the My Vision of Life site, give them the login credentials, and then they can go in, log in. It's very easy. The about is all set up. They can go to Vision and they can start to play. And you can see what I just did here. We set up Bill and Sue originally, and then I went back to the plan, imported Joan and Bill Jr., and then exported that out to the site. So, everything that we wanted to see on the website was in there. Bill and Joan and Bill Jr. And then, the clients have the ability to go in and start adding things, gifts, right? We talk about this sort of stuff.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
when they log into that site, if I can interrupt you there,
Pardon me?
how much information are they receiving for help? Because yes, you do it. They come in, a lot of people aren't that technically savvy despite what they tell you. So is there like a walkthrough or a checklist of how to make it work?
Yeah, well, if you go to the introduction page, it says you're going to do 3 things. On the about page, you're going to put in who are the people in the plan. The values page, optional, what are your values? And then the vision page, what's your vision of life? So here.
Maybe you should put step 3 and put it in red.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
here.
Back to video.
Here they can do the let's get started. And when they do let's get started, right away it says, do you want to add someone to the plan? Now, in our case, we've already, exported Bill, Sue, Joan, and Bill Jr. So if that's complete, that's complete. But if they want to add people, there are the instructions on the left. All they have to do is click the add button and then start, completing the simple questions, first name, etc.
When you export to there, does the photo go over too?
Yes. Yeah. If you go to values, there's an explanation what are values and how to do this, which we all know is very straightforward. But then when you go to vision, and this is why I think something exported to begin is helpful. But if they click the help video, it's a video that's going to run through and explain My Vision of Life everything that explain everything that they need to do.
Okay.
Okay, so it's all there, and we reduced, other than the text instructions on the about page, which just says click the add button and answer the questions, and the values page, which is very straightforward, drag the bars, but we added things like changing the definition if they want to, and things like that. But really, for the most part, it's just going to the vision page and then playing that help video to see how all this is done. And there were a number of things that we did, and these changes are also available, by the way, in VisionWorks, because we were experimenting with this on a tablet, and there were some issues with that. So, for example, the ability to go in and open a year list and change the year, was one of the enhancements we needed to make, because dragging on a tablet wasn't all that, effective, right? It was much easier just to open the list and change things.
Okay.
Now, it's, not all clients are going to embrace it. Not all clients are, like you said, Robert, are going to feel technically capable of using it. When I say embrace, I mean, want to actually put in the effort to build their vision, but it's there. And again, I'll loop back to what I said at the beginning, my experience of the industry. I saw an announcement yesterday from 4Strong, for instance, that they're now linked up with Razor Plan. Well, it's a simple spreadsheet, and spreadsheets are rife with inaccuracies. One of them that I talk about all the time is the ability to integrate wills into the financial forecast. 48% of the silver set are divorced. So I would say a very high proportion of people who are divorced take a second kick at the can. Well, if we're talking a blended family and assets going to children from a previous marriage, which would be very normal, then what that means is any plan that assumes that on Bill's death, everything goes tax-free to Sue, and on Sue's death, you know, the assets roll to Joan and Bill Jr., any plan that assumes that has a very good chance of being slightly to very wrong.
Yeah.
So, you know, we need to integrate wills just given the divorce rate, and yet no software except ours does it. The simple spreadsheets can't do it. So anything that's being done, you know, the financial well-being of Sue in her retirement years is probably, you know, half the time or a good chunk of the time quite misleading. So, you know, the only way we can counteract that, given the demands on advisors' time, is to give the client more of an opportunity to build out their vision. So those that get it and want to take a kick at the can, there it is.
Yes, I like it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Michael, it's Alan again. Just, is there any uniqueness to the program? I'm just thinking if I did a blog and I put a link to the website, would the people that fill this out come back to me, or do they all go to Mark, or how does that work?
Well, actually, I don't know if I can show this to you or not. Let me think. I'm going to use Edge to do this. I'm going to see if I can do this or not. Let me see what I've got here. I'm going to log in as Jack Jones. This isn't going to work. Maybe I can. This is my funny. Here we go. It's my funny advisor's name. There's no such advisor, so I'm just going to change this. And then I'm going to log back in again as Jack Jones. Hang on. One of the features we have, so if you register them on the site or do the blog, and you know, when they well, no, because if you're doing the blog, then they're going to the website on their own and starting from scratch, right? They have to register and everything, so they'd have to put in your advisor name. But
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was something you could put in the email or the web link that directs it to a particular advisor or something.
No,
Yeah.
they would have to put in under manage account. They would have to put in your name, right? But that's going to have them, you know, register from the ground up, and that I strongly recommend against that. I think it's much better if you set something up so that the client just has to log in. We want to get them to the values and vision page as fast as possible, you know, not have to register, not have to complete the about page. Any of that stuff slows them down from getting to where we really want them to go, which is engaging in their vision. But if
the advisor's email be inputted beforehand.
Yeah, well, that's where you would have to complete them on. Well, you would have to either register for them, which would help, but you know they would still have to complete the about page, or you would set it up in VisionWorks and then export it. One of the things we did is if clients do stumble across the site and don't have a VisionWorks advisor, this is Jack Jones, they can go to find an advisor, and they can look wherever it is that you know you live, and they're going to find you there.
Okay.
But again, my feeling is that what you want to do is that opens in a separate window. You want to set them up in VisionWorks and then export them. So if you're doing some form of prospecting with it, you might do a little video and say, if this appeals to you, complete this form, or send me your information and I'll set you up on the website. Something like that, just to make it easier. Other questions?
Hey, Michael, it's Mark again.
Yes.
From a marketing perspective and visual perspective, this is a nice visual tool. Would I be able to import some of this or a portion of this into my own website so it could create either a lead generator or just a nice visual tool? Is there a relatively easy way to do that, or is that recommended?
I'm not clear what you mean.
Well, I'll say each of us have our own website, right? And there's information there, but this would be a nice kind of tool as someone's going through the website and they click on this. It just gives them an overview. I don't necessarily want them, if they wanted to go in depth, fine, but it would be a nice kind of a value add, and it's a differentiator to have it.
Well, to show them what they could do, right? So
right.
why not create a fictitious client and then have the link to the site where just tell them, let me get out of Edge. Let me go back to, I have just the one person set up through Google. Why not set up a fictitious site, give them the link, and then tell them, just click login, and then, the login credentials are pre-completed for a fictitious client. Click login, and then they can log in and take a tour.
Yeah.
Now you may get people going in and really chopping up your sample file, so to speak. So, as long as you never import it back from the web to VisionWorks, and you keep that sample file in VisionWorks so that you can export it back to the web to Bill Smith and refresh it, get rid of any junk that people might have put in, then, that's the one thing that I would do, just to make sure it's always nice and, clean. Right.
Right. Okay.
Other questions? It's my hope that this is the beginning of something that's going to really, if we look down the road 5 years, take hold. What I see happening is when all of the computer-assisted planning work began, which was really in the late 80s, and it was spreadsheet based. They were very simplistic, retirement forecasts fraught with inaccuracies. Nobody saves the same amount every year. Nobody spends the same at 85 or 90 inflation adjusted as, when they first retire. The list of inaccuracies, is just endless. And so what started to happen was we started to develop, more advanced planning tools, and the term shifted from financial plan, which was a retirement plan, to comprehensive financial plan, meaning a much more detailed cash flow based approach. But what I see happening in the interests of technology and speed and everything else is that the industry is regressing back to the spreadsheet-based tools that we were using, quite literally 30 years ago. So I'm hopeful that for those advisors who really are taking a professional planning approach with clients, that 5 years from now, it'll be commonplace for people to actually, log into a website and do some, good quality planning work and be able to see, if I do this, what's the impact on my financial forecast? If I renovate the kitchen, what's it going to mean? So I hope this is where the industry ends up going. Anyway, anybody with any other questions?
Not right now.
Okay, so I'm going to, I've been recording this and I'll post it on our YouTube channel, you know, in a couple of hours once it's all processed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your time today and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Michael.
You too.
Thanks.